Good evening, welcome to Leicester Fan TV. It's Bank Holiday Monday. My name's Phil. We're live every Monday, 7:30 until 8. The whole point of this show is me and you. It's you. It's your views. It's your comments. We want to talk about Leicester City. We want to get as many comments up on the screen as possible. What do you want to talk about in tonight's show? Another 3 points, 12 from 12, top of the league, obviously, against Rotherham. We can talk about that a little bit. We've got Tranmere in the Cup tomorrow. Are you bothered? Do we just forget the Cup? What do you want to do with the team tomorrow night? And, of course, there's transfers. The transfer window is not shut yet. Who is going and who is going to come? Because there's a heck of a lot of transfers to talk about. So, for the next 30 minutes in tonight's Monday Night Fanzone show, we want your views, your comments. We'll get them all on screen. And we'll talk about what you want to talk about. There's no script in the show. It's exactly what you guys want to talk about. So, stay tuned and join us for the show.
Thanks for watching Leicester Fan TV. Thanks to our sponsors, ADT Taxis, Everards, Pukka Pies, Pink Car Leasing, Leicester Riders, Hollogram, The Fox's Arms, Peter's Pizzeria, Hope Against Cancer, and Newby Co estate agents. Make sure to follow us on all of our social channels at Leicester Fan TV. Visit our website, leicesterfantv.com.
Good evening and welcome. Don't forget, follow us down here on the socials at Leicester Fan TV, wherever you're watching. The whole point of tonight's show, as ever on a Monday, is that we can get your comments in there. So if you're watching this live, you can get your comments on there. Nick wants to talk about Ndidi off to Forest. What's that emoji? Like, oh, a bit of a cry face. Scooby's watching. Nick's watching. Good evening to you, Matty Bond. Jono Towers, back from Alcudia now. Thanks for the photos, Jono, over there visiting. Well, he was on holiday, but he also popped into the Fox's Arms and saw Jamie. Dawn, good evening in there. Jono says, hope Nacho doesn't go. I'm with you on that, please. We need Nacho to stay. It's been an interesting one for him. Finn says, been a busy day today. There's lots of rumours, Finn. Let me know if there's anything been confirmed. Need to get that Sean Dyche in, Keith? You've lost me already with your first comment there. Good evening, Richie. Hope you're well. Nick says, Thomas off to Leeds, Christian off to Italy, Castagna off to Fulham. We're going to have to bring a fair few before Friday. Richard, good evening. Richard, good evening. How many Richards are watching tonight? Sean says, good evening. Great result. Another homegrown talent making his mark. Yeah, do you want to talk about McAteer, obviously, scoring that goal on Saturday? Well played to him. It's great to see somebody who's come through the academy and score, well, a couple of great goals in there and make a massive impact. So do you want to talk about McAteer? Let us know if that is tonight's big topic. Obviously, players going, it looks like Suter is going to go. I don't think anybody's going to be too bothered about Suter going. My big question with Suter really is, why did we buy him? Why did we buy him in January? If he's not good enough for the Championship, what on earth were we thinking for the Premier League? Because I've got to be honest, I know we talk about this Enzo ball and passing. Brendan Rodgers was playing passing football, so even Brendan Rodgers didn't fancy Suter after he'd signed him, nor did Dean Smith, nor did Enzo. What a waste of time and money that was. Not going to save us back in January. Anyway, he's come, he looks like he's going, perhaps more sadly in a weird way, but some of you might not think it. Some of you might think he's past his best. Is Wilfred Ndidi. Looks like he may well end up at, hate to say it, Nottingham Forest. What are your views on Wilf going to, well, the boys up the road? By the way, I've just been away for a little cheeky weekend away. Butlins, yes, the mighty Butlins. A lot of Forest shirts seem to be out and about now. They're just one season back in the Premier League, and it seems like their fans are very proud of wearing their shirts. Where have they been hiding the last 10, 20 years? Castagna looks like he's going to Fulham. Get your views in on that. I mean, Castagna, we know, has been going all season, so what do you think about Castagna? We'll keep touching on it. Keep getting your views in, your comments in. There's more to talk about, obviously, in there. Sean says, so many pointless players bought when we were in the Premier League. I agree. Listen, I've been tipped the wink that Brendan Rodgers bought all the players over the last 3 seasons. They were all the players he wanted. He got them. It just, honestly, Victor Christensen looks like he's going. Suter looks like he's going. just some bad buys at times. Rumours are Ndidi linked with Bayern Munich. I have read that as well, Richie. He is linked with Bayern. If he went to Bayern Munich, I think you'd be like, well, yeah, he's done all right for himself. But honestly, Richie, has Wilf passed his best? He's played quite a bit for us this season, but has he passed his best for us? Neil says, I think that we should go for Ilias Chair of QPR. Have I said that right? I don't know, Neil. Sean says, Wilf was a good servant to the club. We had the best of him. Good luck to him. I'm probably with you in there, Sean. And did he time to cash in? Not the player he was. 1 year left on his contract. Cash in and get a proper number 8. John Tower says, I know there's been a few things. I mean, the Bayern Munich one that Richie talked about was a loan. I really, with 1 year left on his contract, apart from releasing his wages from the wage bill, I'm not really sure a loan works for him. But Andrew says here, we still need to offload a few more players because the squad is too big. Simon says, why do you say he's not good for the Championship? He was bought from Stoke City. Yeah, I know what you mean, Simon, but that was it. When you, Simon, and me in January and check the videos, we were talking about this could be a relegation season. When you and I and everybody else was saying, look, we're in a pickle this season. The club obviously didn't see it because I don't know, who knows? Did they sign Suter for the Championship? Listen, I know we've got Enzo in there, so he's going to change his mind. Keith says in here, Wilf leaving would be a short-sighted loss move on his part unless he's been told his opportunities will be limited. Keith, honestly, if it is Forest and it's Premier League football and he's got a year left on his contract, or if it is Bayern Munich, listen, honestly, why would he not go? Nick says, you should see his league season before last. You never saw a Forest shirt. Now they're everywhere. Nick, I tell you, honestly, it's like, I mean, perhaps people were saying it 7 or 8 years ago with a Leicester shirt, but honestly, it's like they've suddenly all come out and started putting a Forest shirt on now. I'm so pleased to see them lose against Manchester United. Because at one point, when they were 2-0 up, I was like, just cannot be done bumping into... I live in Loughborough, which is slightly north of Leicester. And trust me, there's a few very quiet Derby fans. You don't see them around, but I know they're out there. Derby fans around Loughborough at the moment are incognito. No shirts, just, you can spot them though. You can spot a Derby fan, can't you? They're a bit. But Forest fans, they're being a bit brave around the town at the moment. Richie says, Ndidi time to go. Gary says we need a striker. Gary, here's a question for you. Are we playing the sort of football a bit like Man City maybe a couple of years ago? I'm not comparing this with Man City, that team from a few years ago. But are we playing the sort of football before they bought Haaland where they actually didn't really play with the number 9? Do we need a number 9 this season? Or the way we're playing with McAteer scoring 2 goals, Mavadidi scoring goals, these goals are coming from non-striking players. Do we need a number 9? There's a question for you. Do we need a number 9 this season or not? Keep your views in getting... Andy says here we need to get the wage bill down. Well, listen, I'm going to put on screen now the players today who are rumoured to go. And honestly, it keeps changing. But Suter going to Rangers and Ndidi going to Forest or perhaps Bayern Munich. Castagna looks like the deal is done at Fulham. Danny Ward, anywhere, please take him. Luke Thomas, again, weird one, but connected with Leeds United. That seems a bit strange. McAteer, we talked about, great 2 goals. There's one player I want to talk to you about, which somebody come and sign Daka, please. Please come and sign Daka. Somebody. Nobody seems to really want to come and sign Daka. Thus proving to people who actually think Daka's a good player, nobody wants to come and buy him. Nobody thinks he's value. That's my point on him. Anyway, in there. Do you think Iverson will get a move this week? Well, James, it's funny. Danny Ward's being linked with moves out today. I actually feel a bit sorry for Iverson because I think he actually wants to play football. He's been out on loan for Preston for those 2 seasons and he got his chance last season. And I think stats would show that if Brendan had put Iverson in goal a few games earlier, that would have probably just... Remember, we needed 1 point last season. And the stats under Iverson were much better. And to be fair, the stats under Dean Smith were better than Brendan Rodgers. But listen, let's not focus on last season. So yeah, I think Iverson does want to play first team football, unlike Danny Ward, who probably is quite content to be on the bench like the rest of his career. John Taylor says, Notts Florists have no shirt sponsor, small time in there. Mark says here, don't get carried away. Good start, but played nobody yet. That is interesting. And obviously, Mark, we play Hull on Saturday, who've got, I believe, 7 points. This is off the top of my head. I think Hull have got 7 points. So that they've effectively won 2, drawn 1. Not a bad start. I think they're in the top, certainly in the top half of the table, aren't they, Mark? So Hull will be potentially a tougher challenge. We'll come on to that later this week. Obviously, we've got Tranmere tomorrow in the Cup. One of my questions to you guys, Tranmere, do you just, of course, it's nice to keep this winning mentality, but he's gonna mess around with the team a little bit, isn't he? Quite rightly. Richard says here, Luke Thomas has been linked with Man United. I have not seen that, Richard. Listen, I like Luke Thomas, obviously a local lad. I think he's from Syston. I wish him well. I like Luke Thomas. I would keep him at Leicester. I really do. I just don't think at the moment he particularly fits in. Probably a bit like Victor Christensen. They're both quite traditional fullbacks, and that isn't really how Enzo wants to play. But that, I hadn't heard that. Man United. He'd probably do quite well there, mate. Honestly, he probably would. Dan Fox, good evening, says apparently Wolves are looking at Nacho. Now, Nacho is one, Daniel. Hands up who wants to keep Kelechi Nacho this season. Out of all the strikers and all the players up front, for me, I genuinely think we need to keep Nacho because I think his link-up play has been good in there. Andrew says we've got 5 keepers that need to offload 2. Yes, we do. John says Ward has to go, surely. He's the definition of Deadwood. Well, just happy on the bench, but being paid a lot of money to sit on the bench for most of his career at either Liverpool or Leicester. Nice career if you can have it. The Councillor, good evening, sir. Championship is Daka's level. His pace will be useful at this level. Councillor, he's not being picked. He can't make a Championship Leicester City side. Honestly, we've put him on. Do you know the honesty, I think, of Daka is he's on far too many wages, and people will look at him and go, well, he scored 1 trillion goals in 12 games in the Austrian league because it's of that standard. But he didn't set the Premier League alight, and he's not getting into a Championship side, and he's on a lot of money. He is on a lot of money. Matt says here, Entity, you absolute traitor. Listen, Matt, if he does end up at Forest, you just have to accept it. It's how football goes. Honestly, Wesley Morgan, of course, came from Forest to Leicester. It can happen. In fact, right, I completely off the top, because I know you guys like, and I'll think of a couple, but I want you guys to. Players that have gone from Leicester to Forest. Okay, name me over the past players that have played for Leicester and then Forest. If you say Forest and Leicester, I'll shout them out. But I want players who've specifically gone from Leicester City to Nottingham Forest. Okay, so put that in the comments. Help me out. I'm thinking like Alan Rodgers, but he came Forest to Leicester. I'm trying to think of a player that's gone from Leicester to Forest. I know obviously Anthony Knockaert has played for Leicester and Forest, but he went somewhere else in between. So a player who's gone directly from Leicester to Forest, put it in the comments and let's have that as a bit of a challenge off the top of our heads to see if we can get that in there. Dan says, is Vestergaard auditioning for the remake of White Man Can't Jump in there? Well, Matt says, I don't have to accept anything. I'm not. Wilfred Ndidi will be a traitor in my books, just like Mark McGee was when he went to Wolves. Matt, your profile picture says you go, Mark McGee, Mark who? Well, when he went off to Wolves, to be fair, when Brian Little went to Villa, I know what you mean. It hurts here, right in the heart. Wilf, to be fair, get in there. The councillor says Shilton. Now, obviously, I know Shilton played at Leicester. I didn't know he went straight off to Forest. Is that right? Well, councillor, I have to accept your word for that. I have to. It's a wee bit before my time. My first keeper I remember at Leicester City is Mark Wallington, who I believe took over from Shilton. Interestingly in there. Nick Moore says Gareth Williams. Again, thank you, Nick, for that. I don't remember that in there. John Tower says Kitson. The mighty kicker. I used to like Kitson. Leicester to Derby. No, John, it's Leicester to Forest. Not Leicester to Derby. It's Leicester to Forest. Matt, thank you. Very aware of managers leaving in the 90s. Thank you, Matt. Good knowledge of Mark McGee and Brian Little in there. Some bloke called O'Neill swapped the Trent for the Saw. He did. He did indeed, obviously. Martin O'Neill played at Forest and, of course, managed at Leicester. He did manage at Forest, didn't he, as well, after that, in the other way. Yes, Stephen says Schultz went via Stoke. Do you know what, Stephen? I must admit, and thank you, Chris has said that. Thank you. I didn't think Schultz went straight from Leicester to Forest. I know there was Stoke, and then he did Schultz ended up at Southampton, I think, in there. Anyway, in there. Keep your views, keep your comments coming in. We've got loads and loads and loads of things to talk about tonight. Let's focus a little bit on McAteer. Young lad come through, obviously, the ranks. How much game time is he going to get this season, do you think, in there? And what are your views on him? And indeed, let's extend that out a little bit to Mavididi as well. How impressed have you been with Mavididi? I know I want people to almost keep a bit of a lid on it because we're 4 games in, but it's quite exciting to see some of this young talent. And it does I don't know about you, but I get the feeling we're going to score quite a few goals from players attacking in from midfield and coming in from the wings. So what are your views on McAteer's performance on Saturday? It's one of those, to be fair. I believe he's from Leicester. He's obviously been through the academy for many, many years. So it is one of those, probably like you, like me. We love Leicester because probably from Leicester, or we got some strong connection to Leicester. It's a sort of dream thing that we would all love to do, isn't it? Is get your chance to play, do well, score 2 goals, score a winner as well. Score a winner. So just give me your views on what you think it must be like for a lad like that. He must absolutely be loving the last couple of days underneath what he's done away at Rotherham. So let us know in there what you thought about that. Give Casey McAteer a chance in the first team, says Richie. Jono says, didn't Johan Benaloon move to Flores? I think he did. I think you might be right in there. Andy says Enzo rotates players, which cuts down on injuries. Talking maybe, Andy, about tomorrow night's match, Tranmere, obviously in the cup there. Andy, would you sacrifice the League Cup and indeed the FA Cup for obviously a swift return to the Premier League? Not that we can do that. Or do you think, because there's 2 schools of thoughts here, isn't there, Andy? It's like, do you win every game? Because if we beat Tranmere, that winning run keeps going. So is it important that we win at Tranmere tomorrow for more reason than that in there? The Championship is the perfect place to try out young players. Agree, Andrew? It is, although I'd rather be trying them out in the Premier League, to be fair. But perhaps in the Premier League, you just don't get that chance, because if they don't do it first, second game, there's somebody waiting to come in. Nick says here, McAteer and Marcel both doing okay, but need to keep the feet in the ground. I agree. Let's not give them big paid contracts. I'm sure we're not going to do that this season, to be fair in there. Richie says he'd like to see Leicester City have a cup run this season. Richie, I know what you mean, because I certainly think in the League Cup, it could be one of those seasons where and it's still an if we have a good, really, really good championship season this year, which fingers crossed, so far so good. But the League Cup, it could be one where, again, a lot of the big teams don't take it seriously until the semi-finals or at all. So Leicester could really have a good run in it if the draw goes for us in there. Andy says 100% promotion is a priority. Thank you in there. Andy Impey, a couple of shouts. This is players who've gone straight from Leicester to Nottingham Forest. Andy Impey did it. Thank you, Larry. I forgot about Andy Impey. He was quite a good player back in the day. Wayne's confirmed that Schultz went to Stoke before Forest. Thank you in there. John's talking about Tranmere. Do you agree with what Jono says here? 4 to 5 changes for me versus Tranmere. I want to see the new wingers start and load the bench just in case. Yes. I mean, that would be the way to do it, wouldn't it, really, in there? Karen, thank you. Auntie Karen, hope you're well, says, I thought McAteer was from Northampton. To be fair, I haven't done my homework, Auntie Karen. So I know he's been through the academy. But yeah, he might well be a Northampton lad. Thank you for that in there. Mark says, always. Yes. Again, Mark, you're quite right. I always say this, check the videos back. Go back to sometime in June and watch Phil being a complete muppet and saying, this is the worst pre-season ever. What are we doing? Blah, blah, blah. Shouldn't have gone to Singapore. Shouldn't have gone to Thailand. I agree. It's turned out it's good. I think somebody will tell you that actually this season we won the Premier League. We had a woeful pre-season, so you never know in there. Peter says, not a cup run, promotion is the aim in there. Jono is talking about players he'd like to see in tomorrow night. Kasedi, Hamza, Vardy, Akian in there. Richard says the championship has to be our focus 100%. Sean confirms that has to be go for the promised land. I'm just looking at Sean's profile picture in there. Sean, you sure about that, mate? Facebook? Or should I change my profile picture to that? That's the question. Please don't answer that in the comments in there. Tomorrow's game is a replay of the 2000 final. Nick, it is. I was there. Were you there, Nick? Do you remember it? It was a good game. I took my good lady. That was almost, I think that was her first game. And she comes with me to first game with me back in 2000, and it was Tranmere away. Well, Tranmere in the was it the Worthington Cup final or Coca-Cola Cup final? I think it was the Coca-Cola Cup final in 2000. And there I go. I go, here you are. You're at Wembley, and it's the old Wembley. Ta-da! This is football. And she was like, yeah, it's all right. I was like, this is amazing. A League Cup final that we just won. This is amazing. And she was like, yeah, it was all right. I might. Deary me. Could not get her back into it in there. Sure, don't pick on me. I'm only little. I just can't look. I cannot look at your profile picture now. You've said that, Sean. I was good there. Good old Matty Elliott. Yes. 2 goals from Matty Elliott, if I'm right, Nick. Obviously, there was a few beers there that day to be had in the Green Man. Councillor was in there. Matt, I don't think it was the Worthington Cup final in 2000. I think it was the Coca-Cola Cup final. Maybe it was the Worthington. No, it was the Worthington. So I'm going to go with Matt. And Matt says it's the Worthington. So Nick has backed that up. Worthington 2000, Coca-Cola 97. Thank you. There was definitely beers at both of them. So there's blurred memories of some of these games. Trust me, if you were there. Anyway, in there. Mark, thank you in there. And Matt says, don't doubt. Matt, I'm not. You're going to be our resident stato on a Monday night. I hope you're going to join me again next week, Matt, with all your facts and fiction. I might even come up with a question just for you, Matt, to see if you can get an answer in a bit. Richie says in here, Joe Murphy, the goalkeeper, playing for Tranmere tomorrow night against Leicester City in there. Again, no disrespect to Tranmere, but even with a few changes, it should be fairly straightforward for us in there. Now, don't forget, tomorrow, sometime during the day, we'll do a proper match preview of the game tomorrow night for all of those of you going up there. So do stick around tomorrow for that in there. Somebody in the Facebook group says, I went to Tranmere back in 93, 0-0 draw, bit of a tip, if I remember correctly in there. Let's hope, well, it can't be a 0-0 tomorrow. And again, let's go back. Matt Gamble. Is there extra time tomorrow, or does it go straight to penalties? Matt is our fact man, and in about 30 seconds time, he will tell us if there is extra time or penalties tomorrow. I can't keep up with the changes that go on in some of this in there. Stephen says, my wife and I were at the game in opposite ends long before we met. How interesting. How is that, Stephen? That is weird, isn't it? So you were in the Leicester end, Stephen, and she was in the Tranmere end. You're both at the same game. You didn't meet, and then you've met. I don't know why I've just done that. You've met, and you've always got that one up on her. Say, do you remember that 2000 final, my dear wife, where we beat you in there? Thank you, Matt. Matt says penalties. No extra time tomorrow. 90 minutes go straight to penalties. Thank you, Matt. Resident Stato now, got a new name in there for him. Simon backs that up as well, straight to penalties. Thank you in there. James can't put that on screen because it's got a naughty swear word in it, but hear what you're saying. Nick says go straight to penalties. Thank you in there. Chris says here, I took my girlfriend to her first ever football match when we played Tranmere in the final. Seemed like we were all at it then. Got 2 tickets off a tout just after kickoff. As we headed to the ground, we realised 1 ticket was for the Tranmere end. So I told her I'd see her after and headed off for the Leicester end. Chris, you smoothie. I take it. You see, Chris, I'll read that in there. I took my girlfriend to her. Is that your current girlfriend? Even after you did that to her, you took her to a match and then palmed her off to the other end in there. Thank you, Matt. Yes, we do need to keep up with the changes to the League Cup rules, but that's why we have you here now, Matt, to look after these things for us in there. 5 minutes to go, so let's get a few score predictions in for tomorrow night's match. Tranmere v Leicester. What do you think the score's going to be? Who do you think is going to score the first goal? We always have a little go at this. Jaffrey's already gone in there. Thank you, Jaffrey. JJ watching on Facebook says 0-4. 0 to Tranmere, 4 to Leicester. Richard's put it the other way around, but he's agreeing with them in there. Do you agree with those score predictions? Craig says 2-0 Leicester win. Renee, sorry, Renee, if I've got that wrong, says 0-5 to Leicester. Sean does go 3-1. Again, put that profile picture away, mate, all night. Tom says 2. We're going to lose, Tom. Listen, we've forgotten last season. Last season is over, mate. We're not in the doom and gloom world anymore, Tom. Unless you are a Tranmere fan, I really can't believe you're predicting 2-0. Peter, thank you, 2-0 to Leicester. Gary, 3-0. Richard, 2-0 to Leicester. Dawn, 3-1. Wayne, hope you're well, Wayne says 3-0. Richard says Andy Impey, Johan Benaloen, and Ben Hamer. Thank you. That's players. That's not a score prediction for tomorrow. That's players who've left Leicester and gone direct to Forest. Not many, you see. There's not many over the years, is there? I think we've got 3 now. Bubba, good evening, Bubba. Watching out there in the States, I think, Bubba, aren't you? One of the USA Foxes says 4-0 to Leicester. Terry says 4-0 Leicester with a Vestergaard bullet header. Why not, Terry? And listen, I think Vest is doing all right. Honestly, it was going to do all right this season in the Championship. I know we've got Connor Cody to come back in, but Vest is doing all right, isn't he? Do you agree? Mark says 2-1 Leicester, as we don't often win 2-1. I think we do most of it. Graham, it's a game on TV. No, Graham, it's not. And you'll probably struggle to get a stream for it. Gav saying 5-0. Signs is saying 2-0. Sean, stop laughing. Nick says 3-0 Vardy. Vardy with 2 and JJ with the other. KDH to score and 3-0. I think, to be fair, I'm going to keep putting them up on screen while we're talking here. Stephen, thank you. John, 4-0. Andy, 3-0. I think most people are going to go for a Leicester win tomorrow. And again, we really should do. We're in fine form in the league. We're in fine form in the cup. And we're not hit the high notes yet, but we're winning. And again, I don't want to compare us with the Man City way of playing, but it does feel like Enzo's perhaps bringing in the same methodology that Pep goes under, which is you don't have to win the game in the first minute. You don't have to win it in the 50th or 60th minute. You've got to win it by full time. And again, I quite like that mental attitude that we can win it in the 70th minute or the 80th minute or the 90th minute, but we're going to win it. We're going to keep going, and we're going to keep playing. We're going to outpass the other teams. We're going to outpossession the other teams. We're going to create more chances, and therefore, a bit Moneyball-esque, we are going to win the game. So I do have very little fear. Thank you, Bubba. USA Foxes, good to hear from you. I do think we're going to win tomorrow night. And I know we're not really talked about Hull because obviously we've got tomorrow night. I do think we're going to beat Hull. We really should. So we've got loads more content coming up before, obviously, the Hull game. Lox has got his show on Thursday. Do join that Championship chat. A great watch every Thursday. You can watch it live or you can watch it on playback. He'll be there with fellow fans from other fanzines in the Championship. So do make sure you join that this week. We'll be doing a match preview quickly tomorrow before, obviously, the Tranmere game. And then we'll be doing a much fuller one for Leicester against Hull on Saturday in there. John O'Tower says 3-0 Leicester. I took my wife for the first time to the King Power 8 years ago. The bloke in front of us had the worst flatulence. Jono, very posh. He had awful flatulence, and it put her off going for ages. His whiffy farts put her off football. Has anybody got a worse? I think that's just, do you know what, Jono? She just don't like football. It's like my missus. She'd say, I don't like the pies. I don't like the beer. She had a season ticket for a few years, but the reality is it's like, no, not going to happen. You can't persuade everybody to be a Leicester fan or come and watch it. Sean said, and I'm covering it. Sean said, let's have some academy players on the pitch for the cup run if they're like McAteer. I agree with you. Put your shirt on. Peter says, big games are Southampton and Norwich. Yeah, well, listen, there's going to be several. I do think Hull will pose us perhaps a decent challenge on Saturday, but we will see in there. Chiggy says, Got a horrible feeling there's going to be some sort of injury for a key player like Winks or Pies. Hope not, because I think if we were to lose Winks, I think we lose a little bit of that, what's going on in the club at the moment. So if he says it was a great smell of fox, he's talking about Jono Towers in there. And Matt said she just started standing behind him after a Balti pie. Honestly, Monday nights, these shows, this is why I love chatting with you guys, because who knows what we're going to talk about. It goes round and round, and we get onto topics that we never thought we would do. As ever, it's been great chatting with you, and we've learned some interesting things tonight about each other, haven't we? We really have. We'll see you at the match tomorrow night. Come and say hello if you see any of the Leicester Fan TV crew up there. Make sure you tune in, follow us at whatever socials you want to. As ever, they're down there on the screen at Leicester Fan TV. And we can't do this sort of thing without having the guys help us. So thanks to all these local businesses who help Leicester Fan TV succeed. I'll see you next Monday, but I'll see you before because we've got loads of live shows. Cheers.
Thanks for watching Leicester Fan TV. Thanks to our sponsors, ADT Taxis, Everards, Pukka Pies, Pink Car Leasing, Leicester Riders, Hollogram, The Fox's Arms, Peter's Pizzeria, Hope Against Cancer, and Newby Co estate agents. Make sure to follow us on all of our social channels at Leicester Fan TV. Visit our website, leicesterfantv.com.